So, a major part of every adult female life is spent in this unclean, impure state where she renders everything she touches impure and unclean. By law, she is supposed to isolate herself from society for those 7 days. So the world of sales and services, the corporate world, the medical and entertainment industry, the mercantile and trade industry, the restaurant, fast food chains, and the dining world is therefore constantly being rendered impure and unclean by receptionists, clerks, secretaries, cashiers, waitresses, and sales personnel who are undergoing this humiliating and humbling ordeal. You may disagree with this right knowledge. However, this law never changed. Matthew 5:18. A female living being can be a spiritual matter if she passes in childbearing. Other than that, she will be rewarded through all the pain of childbearing and motherhood. It is better to be safe than sorry. So this solar plexus is not about to be bossed around by any lunar plexus. Just step away from that podium. Now go to your room and remain there in exile until your shameful 7-day monthly containment period runs its course. It is imperative that you follow this law. Of the 613 laws of El's Holy Torah. However, socially speaking, it is disagreeable, disrespectful, unrighteous, and totally unfair to willfully go around defiling trusting, unweary patrons, amongst whom there might be priests, pastors, preachers, rabbis, and imams who would then go and defile their entire congregation for that day. If you are saying that there were and are cursed female 24 elders and cursed female messengers, you need to cease and desist with such blasphemy. So continuing with the excerpt from the Guidance of the Masters, publication page 15. And I quote, thus, he is a fake man or human beings with fake intelligence. They take the real and make the unreal like plastic and seedless grapes. They take the facts like the existence of dinosaurs and create the fake dragons Godzilla and Barney. And the truth and the facts of history in ancient Egypt became the myth and fiction in Judaism, Christism, Mohammedism. These religions became real without any truth or facts. That there are unseen, unproven gods, or God himself had to have a physical son, Jesus, to make the unreal seems real. The ghost deity with no real purposes becomes judgment God who kills, burns, destroys, and turns people into stone, all without true existence or reason. He is a spook, spirit, ghost. The unreal becomes real faith and belief. So the fake man, that is the original mankind, or mankind is also fake. So he and she live in a fake world of movies, plays, fake food, stimulants. It's all fake, the unreal, and illusion. Now is the time to return to the source inside of self and kind, with added experience gained from that descent. In Christian terms, the soul returns with its harvest of experiences, bearing in the sheaves with it in the world of the dead, to sit on a chair with God, a ghost. Now let us take these principles a stage further and see how numerologically this triad or trinity or triplicity gives rise to the numbers 4, 7, on to 9. From the essential or primordial unity, we have seen how 3 triad must always arise in manifestation from this triplicity or triad. From the essential or primordial unity, we have seen how 3 or triad must always arise in manifestation, and from this triplicity or triad, a quaternary, quad, or fourth part is born. This is so because 3 principles can only group themselves into 4 further combinations in which none of the original 3 is repeated, and end up in the answer to why, which is because it is. The higher triplicity or triad 3 and the lower quaternary quad 4th path 4, making 7 onto 9. It is thus that mathematically and by a further stage of densification, the spirit descends into form, and the number 9 is manifested as an ethereal being, a God being you. And you being God, bringing the 9-fold divisions of color, sound, and giving us the 9 levels of consciousness in human beings. That is the 9 Arushad seats. The 7 is the 7 for the physical, the 8th for the spiritual, the 9th for the ethereal. In color, the root triad is blue, yellow, and red. In sound, the root chord is C, E, and G from middle C leftward. From these 3 colors, the second colors are formed: green, orange, purple, indigo, and violet. Red is a color that projects or encourages desire and evil. It is taken to represent evil. Red is a color that projects. The color depicts anger, sin, and bloodshed. The devil Shaitan is always represented by the color red. Blue reflects a highly spiritual mood and the virtuous qualities of man, such as devotion, faith, and piety. Various levels of this mood are reflected in different shades and tints of blue. The mood of this color is highly spiritual. Yellow is the color that reflects intellect or total state of consciousness. Yellow about the aura or within it shows intellect in the person. The brighter the hue, the purer the stream of mentality showing greater intellect. Whenever the color is dull and dingy, the thoughts and moods of the person is either slow or out of tune with the mental plane. Yellow encourages reason, judgment, analysis, and the use of logical mental activity. Green, dealing with light, is the most divine mood. Green is a combination of the moods that blue and yellow reflect, which is reflected from the heavens of the mental plane. Green, like white, is a healing force, except green light is much more powerful. Green light is much more powerful and a more purified force. It is controlled and directed to man by El Khidr, the green one, who is the supreme angelic guardian over the physical plane, the planet Earth. El Khidr is referred to as the green one because he is the center of all the energy generated into and around the Kaaba. Now this here section on the meaning of the colors was taken from scroll number 9, The Science of Healing. On pages 64 and 65. There is one of the master teachers' true light tapes, an audio tape, an audio cassette tape entitled Who and What Are You? Go pull it up. Listen to the master teacher himself. On that audio cassette tape, the angel Melchizedek most emphatically stated, and I quote, I have to hurry up and give you all this information before they realize. Are you listening, people? Who I really am, and it gets too dangerous, then I will have to leave. To leave, people. Not to get captured. Do you follow? Holy Tablets, chapter 15, tablet 13, verses 1 through 8, he gives an account of Yeshua and the skull he one day found near the Dead Sea. This account is important because it tells us what will happen to those who reject the holy tablets and lie on the one sent. This tablet 13 begins by saying, Lo, after traveling and teaching throughout and performing great signs and wonders, the people still had little faith. asked for a sign that he was indeed the Ibn Alien El. Yeshua, reluctant, then created at the will of Alien El various kinds of birds out of clay, which he animated with his breath, so that they ate and drank and flew up and down like natural birds. He healed in one day by the power of prayer. Are you listening? 50,000 blind and leprous persons whose cure the best physicians of those times had been unable to effect. He recovered many dead who, after he recalled them to life, married again and had children. And he even raised up Shem, the son of Noah, who, however, died again immediately. Shem. But he did not only revive men, he even isolated parts and limbs. During his wanderings, he one day found a skull near the Dead Sea, and his disciples asked him to recall it to life. Yeshua prayed to Alien El, and then turning to the skull said, "Live by the will of the Yahuwah, and tell us how thou hast found death, the grave, and the future state." The skull then assumed the form of a living head and said, "Know thou, O prophet of Alien El, that about 4,000 years ago, after taking a bath, I fell into a fever, which notwithstanding all the medicines which were given me continued 7 days. On the 8th day I was entirely exhausted, that all my limbs trembled, and my tongue cleaved to the roof of my mouth. Then there came to me the angel of death in a terrible shape. His head touched the sky, while his feet stood on the lowest depths of the earth. He held a sword in his right hand and a cup in his left. And there were 10 other angelic beings with him, whom I took to be his servants. I would have shrieked so loudly at their sight that the inhabitants of heaven and of earth must have been petrified. But the angelic beings fell on me and held my tongue, and some of them pressed my veins so as to force out my soul. Then I said, "Exalted spirits, I will give all that I possess for my life." But one of them struck me in the face and almost shattered my jawbone, saying, "Enemy of Alien El, he accepts no ransom." The angel of death then placed the sword on my throat and gave me the cup, which I was forced to empty to the dregs. And this was my death. My consciousness no lost, I was washed, wrapped in a shroud, and interred. But when my grave was covered with earth, my soul returned to my body, and I was sorely afraid in my solitude. But soon there came 2 angelic beings with a parchment in their hands, and told told unto me all the good and all the bad I had done while living in the body. And I was compelled to write it down with my own hand and to attest to it by my own signature. Whereupon they suspended the scroll on my neck and vanished. There appeared two other dark angels with blue eyes, namely Munkar and Nakir, each with a column of fire in his hand, one single spark of which, if it had dropped on the earth, would consume it. They called me in a voice of thunder, "Who is your Yahuwah?" Overcome with fright, I lost my senses and said, shudderingly, You are my Yahuwahs. But they cried, "Thou liest, enemy of Alun El," and struck me a blow with the column of fire that sent me down to the seventh earth. But as soon as I returned again to my grave, they said, "O earth, punish this man who has been rebellious against his Yahuwah." Instantly the earth crushed me, so that my bones were almost ground to powder. And she said, "Enemy of Alun El, I hated thee, while thou didst tread my surface, but by the glory of Alun El, I will avenge me now, while thou art lying in my bowels." The angels then opened one of the gateways of hell and cried, "Take this sinner who did not believe in Alun El, boil and burn him." Thereupon I was dragged into the center of hell by a chain, which was 70 cubits in length, and as often as the flames consumed my skin, I received a fresh one, but only to suffer anew the torments of burning. At the same time, I was so hungry that I prayed for food, but I only obtained the putrefied fruit of the tree Sakum, which not merely increased my hunger, but even caused the most horrid and violent thirst. And when I asked for something to drink, nothing but boiling water was given me. At last they urged one end of the chain with such violence into my mouth that it came through my back and chained me hand and foot. When Yeshua heard this, he wept in compassion, but demanded of the skull to describe hell more minutely. "Now then," continued the skull, "O prophet Alun El, that hell consists of 7 floors, one below the other. The uppermost is for the hypocrites, the second is for the liars, the third for the deceivers, the fourth for the users, the fifth for those who deny the holy tablets, reject the holy scriptures, and lie on those sent. The 6th is for the idolaters, and the 7th for the sinners. The last mentioned abode is least terrible, the 7th for the sinners. And the sinners are saved from it through repentance. But in the others, which is the other 6, the torture and agony are so great that if thou, O prophet of Alun El, If thou shouldest but see it, thou wouldest weep with compassion as a woman who had lost her only child. This quote, this quote is for you so-called Nubians who sold your holy tablets for a measly $1,000 or less on eBay. And you refuse to stop lying on the 1 cent. You keep persisting that he is incarcerated. You don't have to believe this. However, you have been served. Continuing with the skull. The upper part of hell is of copper, and the inner part is of lead. Its floor is punishment, and wrath of the Almighty is its ceiling. The walls are fire, not clear and luminous, but rather amber fire, and diffusing a close, disgusting stench fed with the men and idols. Yeshua wept long and then inquired of the skull to which family he belonged during the lifetime. He replied, I am a descendant of the prophet Elias. And what desirest thou now? Yeshua asked. That Alionel would recall me to life, that I might serve him with my whole heart, so as one day to be worthy of paradise. Yeshua prayed to Alionel, O Yahuwah, thou knowest this man and me better than we know ourselves, and are omnipotent. Then Alionel said to him, I had long ago resolved that which he desires, since indeed he had many excellencies, and was especially benevolent to the poor, he may return to the world through repentance. And if he serve me henceforth faithfully, all his sins shall be forgiven. Yeshua cried to the skull, be again a perfect man through the omnipotence of Alionel. And while the words were still on his lips, there arose a man who looked more blooming than his former life and cried, I confess that there is but one Elilo, and that Abraham was his friend. Moses saw him face to face, and you, Yeshua, his soul and the word. I confess moreover that the resurrection is as certain as death, and that hell and paradise do really exist. This man lived 66 years after his resuscitation and spent his days in fasting and his shadow hours in prayer. Nor did he alienate a single moment from the service of the Rabboni until he died. But the miracles Yeshua performed before the eyes of the people, the greater was, but the more miracles Yeshua performed before the eyes of the people, the greater was their unbelief. For all that they were not able to comprehend, they believed to be sorcery and a delusion, instead of perceiving therein a proof of his mission, unquote. Now let's return to the colors. Black is a color, but Not a color. Black is not a color, but a supreme state of mind. Black is supreme balance. Black is the total absence of moods and colors. It is the absence of all imbalancement. White is a state of purity of mind and soul. White does not project a mood but a force. White reflects one of the healing forces. There is a totally white aura. The white light or force is projected from the Anunnaki Gray is a negative color projecting a total negative mood. It is a combination of black and white because they are two complete and individual states, neither lacking. They remain in constant battle. Persons with the color gray in their aura are compelled towards depression, pessimism, and malice. Brown is another negative color. Whether it be a light shade or a dark murky brown, it projects a mood of greed and desire for material gain. This is because brown is a combination of green and red. The red and brown will dominate the green that is already a combination of two colors, blue and yellow. When one sides the aura, it appears as a kaleidoscope. I will now trace the way in which the ninefold divisions relates to mortals. We shall see how it produces the 7 levels of his consciousness and his 9 centers of vital force, Pa'arushad. The esoteric Hindu and the Buddha societies, which give birth to the monotheistic societies, Jew, Christians, Muslims, states that there are 7 chakras, seats, or centers. This coincides with the G, the 7th letter in the English alphabet. 7 days of creation in the Bible, Genesis 2, 1 through 3 and 2:7. Heaven in Islam, the 7 heavens in Islam, Holy Quran 42:12, etc. However, there are really 9 Arushad, centers or seats or chakras, and the 9th letter is I. The Kabbalistic of the Jews, Moorish American Muslims, and Freemasons only use the number 7 because 7 stands for the 7th letter of the English alphabet, G, and signifies